Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Dead Malls, your one home for the comfiest and most musically pleasing Dead Mall tours on the internet. In tonight's episode, we continue our Texas expedition, traveling from Vista Ridge Mall in the northern suburbs of Dallas, down into Fort Worth, to a mall which, if you couldn't tell by the intro, felt like a Windows XP screensaver. A literal cloud-painted dreamscape of twisting stone columns and endless Lost Creek architecture. The Dreamcore Dead Mall of Texas, Ridgmar Mall, which at one point housed over 130 stores across 2 levels, 5 anchor stores, a movie theater, and even an aquarium. We'll get to that later. In its time, it was a destination for the west side of the metro, but nowadays, Ridgmar Mall is just a ghostly, liminal reminder of its better days. So what happened that brought it all down? Well, before I begin the mall's story and tour, I want to take a moment and shout out our winner, who was able to successfully guess the next mall. Very nice job, Purple Puppy. If you'd like to have your chance of being shouted out in the next episode, be sure to stick around for the next challenge. Anyways, let's boot up our Windows Mall program, dive in here, tell the story of, and see how Ridgmar Mall was doing as of our visit in August of 2023.
Dude, I'm already in heaven and I haven't even been here for like 5 seconds.
The second we walked into Ridgmar, if you couldn't tell, I was instantly in heaven. The tropical plants dotting the star-spangled entryway instantly made my mind race at what kind of mall I was about to stumble into. Little did I know that it would be an actual vaporwave paradise. But I'd like to hear down below, what's your favorite mall aesthetic you see in tonight's video? Between the stone columns and the cloud-painted skylights, and so much more coming up, what feature do you enjoy the most? Before we begin the history of the mall, I had to show off this clip with raw audio where, after filming the mall's giant, dead, atrium-like Neiman Marcus court, the music that was playing over the radio suddenly switched to Jade's Don't Walk Away. And if that gives you any idea for what kind of music taste they had in here, it was very much 90s pop, so actually quite enjoyable, but absolutely blaring through the hallways. But the song caught me so off guard because, paired with the mall's very surreal looks, I actually felt like I was walking through a vaporwave album cover. So here's that.
This is the coolest mall I think I've ever been to.
But since I don't want to get a copyright, I'll mute it there. Good song though. The mall's story begins in April of 1974, when, amid the height of the shopping mall boom, the Pennsylvania-based Kravitz Mall Development Company would lay out preliminary plans to build a new 1 million square foot, 2-story super regional mall for the western side of Fort Worth. To be anchored by JCPenney and Dillard's, Ridgmar Mall would officially be conceived. In the early 1970s, suburban Fort Worth featured no mall, but with the DFW's rapid suburbanization and freeways coming to fill every corner of Tarrant County, that would all change. With haste, construction began in August of 1974, as Kravitz and JCPenney's mall construction firm went to town on a site just south of the Carswell Air Force Base, right along Interstate 30. In 2 years of time and a flawless construction process later, Ridgmar Mall was finally complete and readying its halls for grand opening. This once grand and elegant court we're currently walking through would have at one point belonged to a Foley's anchor store, then Macy's. The kids' play area being close by and the now closed Sequest on the lower level were probably the only two attractions bringing foot traffic to the area on the day that I went. And I'll have to stop by Ridgmar again someday to see how it's doing. Because as you can tell, even in 2023, this mall felt like it was on its last leg. Before they painted that vaulted ceiling a depressing plain white, it was at one point covered with beautiful clouds and a blue sky, and the giant pillars which surrounded the court were coated in geometric designs and colors from all over the rainbow. But best of all, a plane hung down, with blue neon lights swooping around it. Whatever happened to the inviting, colorful, and fun Ridgmar Mall? I don't know. Parts of it are still around, but the blandification just makes everything so much darker, sadder, and just way more lifeless. I mean, at least they still have those cool, colorful tiles on the floors, the last remnants of its more colorful, prosperous past. But aside from that, the color being sucked away from this mall is just one of the many reasons why everyone up and left this place. On Wednesday, hang on. There we go. Let's set the mood. On Wednesday, October 20th, 1976, Ridgmar Mall would officially open its doors for business, with celebrities, children's entertainment, comedians, games, and prizes all headlining the mall's grand opening ceremonies, which would take place over the next few days into the weekend. With 1.1 million square feet of leasable retail space, 130 stores, and major anchors Dillard's and JCPenney, along with a smaller third anchor called Stripling's, Ridgmar Mall instantly became a hit. Residents finding their new home for shopping were dazzled by its dozens of colorful, familiar name brand stores, along with a good mix of local and Texas-based brands. Baker Shoes, Merle Norman, Wicks and Sticks, Jarman Shoes, Hickory Farms, Corn Dog on a Stick, Piccadilly Fair, Red Cross Shoes, Casual Corner, and Coach House Gifts, among several others, all populated the park-like courtyards of Ridgmar's atriums. Pre-Dreamscape Mall, Ridgmar looked a lot more of its era, with brown tile flooring, trees and planters, fountains, and even a giant spiral ramp. A year into its life in '77, both Sears and Neiman Marcus would open as the mall's fourth and fifth anchors respectively. Now with a healthy anchor lineup, healthy tenant lineup, and strong stature in the city's retail scene, Ridgmar Mall was looking good. But unfortunately for it, competition was on its way, as in that same year, Hewlin Mall would open its doors in August of 1977, literally less than 5 miles away, instantly beginning a heated mall rivalry which Hewlin has clearly won. This very grand, Romanesque Dillard's Court was once touted as the Clubhouse Court, which was supposed to emulate a high-end country club atmosphere, though that's how they describe it in the renovation. We'll get to it in the history, but in my opinion, this architecture and style feels more like it's trying to imitate some Greek streetscape, with the clouds painted above and the purple-tinted ceilings casting an ever-so-fuzzy glow down onto the forgotten streetlights. I say that they imitated whatever odd, dreamy, Frutiger Arrow feel that they were going for, almost perfectly. Country club. to the mall came as early as 1981, with the smaller of the 5 anchors, Stripling's, merging with Fort Worth-based department store Cox's. The subsequent rebranding at Ridgmar would reflect the merger, as the store would become Stripling & Cox. However, due to declining sales, Stripling & Cox would end up closing its doors just 7 years later in 1988. Interestingly, the building wouldn't go to waste, as beginning that same year, the space would be gutted and turned into the mall's new food court, which would officially open its doors in 1989. That's not to be confused with the food court you're about to see coming up. The one I'm talking about would have been located where the old Macy's was. This current one though, which by the way is one of the saddest food courts I've ever seen in my life, is one we'll get to in the history. Seriously though, this is depressing. Someone turn off the malfunctioning TVs. They're acting up again. I genuinely don't think that there was anything open in this food court. And this footage was from a Friday afternoon, so, you'd think that this would be the busiest area, as with most malls I go to. The food court usually has at least one place open, and sometimes popping off. But no, not here at Ridgmar. I mean, seriously, at this point, they should just put the tables and chairs away. This is sad. I mean, who are they really for at this point? Besides me getting a rest. But let's get back on our feet. By the early 90s, despite its new food court, Ridgmar Mall was starting to flounder and lose its dominance. Though inspiring for its time, its looks were starting to be seen as very outdated. In August of 1994, nearby Hewlin Mall would go through a multi-million-dollar expansion, doubling its size and store count, and adding on a new third anchor. All around Ridgmar, big box and newer outdoor malls like the University Park Village were sprouting up like weeds, stealing away foot traffic and in turn closing more and more mid-price stores within its halls. That same year of '94, in September, the Carswell Air Force Base, just north of the mall, a major employer and supplier of jobs, would close, beginning a hamper which, on top of the other factors, would see foot traffic massively decline at the mall. By 1997, Ridgmar Mall only featured 70 stores between the 150 spaces it was designed to house. And if the mall being over halfway vacant wasn't already alarming enough, management at Kravco had become extremely negligent, wanting desperately to sell the mall instead of fixing it up. Thankfully, new owners would step in, and Ridgmar was saved from an early grave. A New York-based company, no, not that one, would step in called Shopco, who would buy it with plans to completely transform the old mall into the Frutiger Aero paradise we see today. First Vista Ridge, now Ridgmar? Maybe it's just a Ridge Mall thing, but I'm gonna have to start keeping track of the amount of times I see mall trains going throughout malls in my videos, because I feel like I rarely ever see them going. But both of these Texas malls got them in full force. Who knows, maybe one day I'll do a little train ride around the mall video. I just gotta find one. Do you know of any mall trains active in your local mall? Let me know down below. I'd love to visit. My absolute favorite of repurposes, an old store being turned into an RC car racetrack. I really hope this is still here. Shopco would follow up on their promises to aid Ridgmar, as in November of 1998, they would manage to attract a brand new Houston-based Foley's to open a new store in the former food court pad. Meanwhile, inside the mall, Shopco would invest $70 million to completely transform it from the earthy tone mall of the 70s into the beautiful Fruitiger Arrow Mall of the new millennia. Construction would begin in 1999, not only to give the mall its new looks, but to completely remodel all existing storefronts, and bring in a new food court, which would open squished in between Sears and the new Foley's. There were plans to build a massive 20-screen AMC megaplex on top of the new food court, probably very similar to how Chesterfield's or Valley View's AMC's were, but these plans fell through, and instead, a July of 2000 reopening was scheduled for the like-new Ridgmar Mall. Here we have one of my absolute favorite areas of the mall, the center court Turtle Oasis, and you can see Buddy already stuck up there on the second floor. I don't know whose idea it was to put these guys in here, but whoever stuck the turtle on that iron beam, I'm sure he's having a good laugh watching this. I know at least one of his turtle buddies has got to be shouting to him, "Do a flip!" Ridgmar Mall would hold its official reopening on July 21st, 2000, debuting the look you see today, a streetscape as Shopco called it, with 3 distinctly themed areas. The sports zone was the section between Sears and Dillard's, with its distinct feature being the jumbotron of neon-clad big-screen TVs which hung above the escalators. The kids' court was the section spanning from JCPenney to Foley's, including the Turtle Pond and the colorful kids' court. And to round out the new looks, the third neighborhood, Arts and Fashion District, which extended between Foley's and Neiman Marcus. Arts and Fashion, my personal favorite, was supposed to mimic an upscale shopping boulevard, and would feature cafe dining, a piano constantly being played, fashion billboards, upscale storefronts, and even a live stage for performances. Nowadays, the spookiest and most liminal part of the mall, as most of the high-end stores would quickly close over the years, being walled off and forgotten until it all became a ghostly corridor of winding white drywalls. New stores to open with renovations included Old Navy, Gap, Foot Locker Triplex, Eddie Bauer, and Afterthoughts, while renovated stores included KB Toys, Sam Goody, GNC, Foot Action, and Payless Shoe Source. The new renovations surely saved the mall, and, in my opinion, were a welcome change, as in a time of blandification in a lot of late 90s renovations, Shopco still promoted a fun, colorful, and inviting shopping atmosphere, no matter where you were at in Ridgmar. Before we go on, let's go and do a little bit of back alley exploring and try to find the mall's bathroom. Not necessarily the most inviting entrance ever, but hey, a loo's a loo. At midnight on December 17, 2003, 3 separate showings of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King would open sold out at Ridgmar's newest Rave Cinemas, whom had just opened a brand new 13-screen megaplex in the mall's original west entrance. The new theaters for their time were state-of-the-art and made a great addition to helping bring the foot traffic up in the early 2000s. However, Shopco, being a little in over their heads with the renovations, would end up selling the mall in 2005 to Macerich for $71.1 million. Despite the sale, the mall would go on to thrive into the later 2000s, with Foley's becoming Macy's in 2006. And now for my absolute favorite of the 3 districts, Arts and Fashion. And of course, LensCrafters is one of the last places left. It's always a LensCrafters or a freaking VisionWorks. Always gotta be one of those two. The recession weathered its toll on Ridgmar, and most of the high-end names would end up closing, with large portions of the Neiman Marcus wing being walled off. In 2013, Macerich would sell the once again dying mall to GK Development, whom would just strip the mall of a lot of its colors and clouds, and not really do a whole lot else to help. And what do you think came next? Well, giant department stores can't rely on their stores to stay open and thriving if the halls are getting quieter and the parking lot is getting more scarce by the day. Simply put, they're unsustainable. Dillard's would downgrade their store to a clearance center in 2016, closing mall.EXE sometime later, and Macy's, after just 7 years under their new name, would be the first to fully leave, announcing closure in 2016 and shuttering their gate for good in 2017. That same year, Neiman Marcus was on the same track. Because seriously, how does a dying mall keep Neiman Marcus around? I'm truly surprised they stuck around as long as they did. They had been planning to leave as early as 2014, but would fully close the store in January of 2017, with the store being walled off shortly after to join the rest of this surreal dreamcore court of walls. 2017 was a weird year, because as two of the mall's main anchors closed, a brand new Sequest aquarium would open that same year in the former Kids Court. Sequest was an abusive aquarium, and we'll get to the allegations and closure in a bit, but just know most Sequest locations in malls, or the very few that they have left, were usually known for being neglectful towards their animals and letting them die in tiny, cramped conditions. Not cool. Sears would be the next, and as of recent, last anchor to leave, closing their store in 2018 as a part of downsizing 72 locations. By 2020, the mall had fully morphed to take on the look you see today, as practically every mid-priced mall store and name brand you typically expect to find in a mall had closed. In 2020, the old Macy's would be turned into a right-move storage facility and walled off from the rest of the structure. In January of 2024, a routine inspection found that the animals in Sequest were living in cramped and extremely unsanitary enclosures. They were given warning, but this was just the first of many findings throughout the year. By summer, former employees and whistleblowers began to come out to animal rights group PETA with footage showing all sorts of animals in poor conditions and dying due to starvation and neglect. PETA would go to the police with these findings, however, little would be done on the end of justice. A short investigation would be dropped in September, and instead billboards were strung up around the metro, spreading awareness of the issue. Sequest, a struggling chain by this point, suffering from PR nightmares all over the country at their other harmful mall locations, would close its doors at Ridgmar on October 28, 2024. Now, the story behind this is, when we first arrived at the mall, we drove past this abandoned JCPenney auto center, which sat as an outparcel to the store itself. But when driving by, we noticed this smashed out window, and we didn't want to potentially get in trouble before we even saw the mall, so after our exploration, we came back to check out if there was anything left. Kinda spooky. Folks, if you stuck around this long, I want to thank you so much for watching all the way through tonight's episode. As for Ridgmar, Sequest, Champs, and Shoe Department have all closed. It's truly only a matter of time before JCPenney, or the mall itself, is next. So if you want to see this dreamcore paradise, plan a trip, because I can't see it holding out for much longer. But Ridgmar, thank you for having me and entrancing me in your beautiful world. You've easily become a top 5 mall for me, and I hope I can come back one day soon. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed tonight's video, hit the like button to help it out, and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future episodes. Next week we'll be live at a mall of your choosing, but 2 weeks from now we'll be back once again, this time to explore a little mall in the heart of Texas, boasting of which a very similar name. Guess which mall we'll be at, and I'll shout you out in the next episode. But until then, have yourselves a lovely evening, and peace out guys. See ya later.